From a biblical perspective, the legend of Bigfoot, also known as Sasquatch, can be examined through the lens of Christian theology, scriptural interpretation, and historical context. Bigfoot is typically described as a large, hairy, humanoid creature said to inhabit forests, especially in the Pacific Northwest of North America. While there are no direct references to Bigfoot or similar creatures in the Bible, various interpretations and theological reflections have been explored by Christians curious about how this cryptid might fit within a biblical worldview. Some proponents of a biblical explanation for Bigfoot draw parallels between Bigfoot and the giants mentioned in the Bible, such as the Nephilim. The Nephilim are described in Genesis 6:1-4 as the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men, existing in the period before the Great Flood. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. Genesis 6:4 NIV. The term Nephilim has been variously interpreted, with some suggesting these beings were fallen angels, demigods, or simply large and powerful humans. The ambiguity surrounding their nature has led some to speculate that remnants of these beings could explain sightings of creatures like Bigfoot. In this view, Bigfoot might be considered a descendant of or related to these ancient beings, surviving in remote regions away from human civilization. Another possible biblical link is the story of Esau, the brother of Jacob, who is described as being particularly hairy. The first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment, so they named him Esau. Genesis 25:25 NIV. While Esau himself is not depicted as a monstrous figure, the emphasis on his hairiness has been whimsically connected by some to Bigfoot folklore. However, this connection is largely speculative and not widely supported by biblical scholars. The Bible also references various wild men and creatures that roam the earth, often symbolic of chaos or representing the untamed aspects of creation. For example, in the book of Daniel, King Nebuchadnezzar is humbled by God and is said to live like a beast of the field, eating grass and becoming covered in dew. He was driven away from people and ate grass like the ox. His body was drenched with the dew of heaven until his hair grew like the feathers of an eagle, and his nails like the claws of a bird. Daniel 4:33 NIV. While this passage does not describe a creature like Bigfoot, it does illustrate the biblical theme of humans reverting to a wild, beast-like state, which some might loosely associate with the idea of a wild, uncivilized being like Bigfoot. From a broader theological standpoint, some Christians who believe in the literal truth of the Bible might interpret Bigfoot's sightings within the framework of God's creation, viewing Bigfoot as an undiscovered animal or a remnant of pre-flood creatures. In this perspective, Bigfoot could be seen as part of the diversity of life that God created, with the creature simply eluding scientific discovery thus far. This view aligns with a young Earth creationist belief that all creatures were made by God during the 6 days of creation, and that some have remained hidden or rare. Others might interpret Bigfoot through a more symbolic lens, viewing it as a representation of humanity's fear of the unknown, or as a myth that reflects deeper spiritual or psychological themes rather than a literal creature. In this approach, Bigfoot could be seen as a modern-day wilderness icon, symbolizing humanity's desire to connect with nature and the mysteries of the natural world. Another interpretation among some Christian circles, especially those that emphasize spiritual warfare and the existence of demons, is that Bigfoot could be a demonic entity or manifestation. This view posits that sightings of Bigfoot might not be of a physical creature at all, but rather encounters with a deceptive spiritual force intended to lead people away from God's truth. Supporters of this theory may cite 2 Corinthians 11:14-15, which speaks of Satan disguising himself as an angel of light, suggesting that demonic forces could appear in many forms, including that of cryptids or mysterious beings. This interpretation often cautions against pursuing or glorifying such creatures, emphasizing the need for discernment and spiritual vigilance. Overall, the biblical perspective on Bigfoot largely depends on one's approach to scripture and interpretation of supernatural phenomena. There is no clear or direct biblical basis for the existence of Bigfoot, and the creature does not fit neatly into the categories outlined in the Bible's depictions of creation, human history, or eschatology. For many Christians, the question of Bigfoot is seen as secondary to the core messages of the Bible. Rather than being a theological concern, Bigfoot might be viewed as a cultural curiosity or a reminder of the vastness of God's creation, which still holds mysteries yet to be fully understood by humanity. Whether seen as a potential undiscovered creature, a myth, a symbol, or even a deceptive spirit, the story of Bigfoot invites reflection on the nature of belief, the limits of human knowledge, and the wondrous scope of the world God has made. From a biblical perspective, there is no definitive stance on Bigfoot, as the scriptures do not directly address creatures of this kind. However, various interpretations exist, ranging from considering Bigfoot as a possible descendant of biblical giants, a wild creature of God's creation, or even a demonic presence. Ultimately, the story of Bigfoot, whether fact or fiction, serves as a reminder of the human fascination with the unknown and the complexities of interpreting the mysteries of the world through the lens of faith.